On the night of his death, when the priests came to prepare his body for mummification, they found the sarcophagus empty. Akhem-Sutekh had entered his chamber, placed his hand upon the relic and vanished. No one saw him again, not in this age. Welcome to Omar's story Nook, where history gets spicy, legends get a remix, and imagination runs wild. Every tale you hear is a whisper of Omar, echoing across time, myth, and shadow. They ruled by decree of the gods. Their tombs were carved in gold, painted with prayers, sealed with spells older than memory. Their names were spoken for thousands of years because to be remembered was to live forever. But what if memory was not enough? What if one pharaoh was denied death? What if the journey through the Duat, through the underworld itself, was interrupted, and instead of crossing into eternity, he fell into time itself? This is the story of Pharaoh Akhem-Sutekh, whose name was stricken from the scrolls of the dead, who vanished from the Valley of Kings, only to reappear centuries later in the pages of tomorrow. A king out of time, a ruler lost between worlds, a legend reborn in the circuitry of the future. This is the mystery of the pharaoh and time travel. Akhem-Sutekh was no ordinary pharaoh. The scribes recorded that he was born under a rare eclipse, and that on the day of his coronation, a comet lit the sky. His reign was marked by strange visions of stars that spoke his name, of gods that whispered equations into his sleep, of patterns in the heavens that no one else could see. While his predecessors built temples to Ra, to Osiris, he ordered his architects to build monuments to constellations no one could recognize. The priests feared him. The nobles murmured behind veils, but he built anyway. Beneath the sands of Saqqara, deep under the stepped pyramid, he commanded the construction of a hidden chamber, a room with no hieroglyphs of prayers, but instead walls covered in symbols that glowed faintly when moonlight struck through a single narrow shaft. Scholars would later call it impossible, and at its center stood a relic no one dared name, shaped like an obelisk, carved in neither stone nor metal. It thrummed softly, a strange low It counted time backward. On the night of his death, when the priests came to prepare his body for mummification, they found the sarcophagus empty. Akhem-Sutekh had entered his chamber, placed his hand upon the relic and vanished. No one saw him again, not in this age. He awoke in a city of glass and steel. Around him towered spirals of light. Chariots without horses screamed down endless roads. People spoke into glowing stones in their hands. Holograms shimmered in the air. He staggered through the streets, robes tattered, eyes wide, and yet he recognized the stars. Although the world around him was strange, the constellations still whispered his name. The equations he had dreamt of as a boy now blinked from glowing screens in foreign script. And even here, even now, he was still Pharaoh. Pharaohs do not kneel. Pharaohs adapt. In the dark underlayers of this neon empire, he learned to listen again. The language of the city was different, but the hearts of men were the same. He studied the codes in their machines and saw echoes of the symbols from his hidden chamber. He wandered the endless corridors of cyberspace as if it were just another temple. And as he learned, he began to gather followers, hackers, philosophers, the displaced and the forgotten. They called him the sovereign. He spoke to them of Ma'at, of balance and order, and in a world spinning too fast, they listened. In time, whispers spread. Whispers of a man with bronze eyes who could see through the lies of algorithms, who could bend firewalls like reeds, who spoke of justice in a world that had none. He reshaped the dark corners of the city into digital temples. He inscribed hieroglyphs into forgotten code. He rewrote systems into sacred law. He bent technology to serve balance, and balance to serve memory. Governments noticed, corporations tried to stop him, but the stars shifted, and the artifact, wherever it lay hidden, began to pulse again, as though time itself was warning him. For Akhem-Sutekh had changed too much, and time does not like imbalance. Then reality began to warp. Obelisks rose in city squares overnight. Satellite maps revealed hieroglyphs carved into deserts where none had been before. Ancient monuments appeared from nowhere. The past was bleeding forward, and the present was fracturing under its weight. He knew what had to be done. He returned to the sands of Saqqara, where archaeologists had unearthed his chamber, marveling at its impossibility. They thought it a tomb. He knew it was a door. He stepped into the chamber, past the stunned faces of the scientists. He placed his hand upon the relic. He did not ask for glory. He did not ask for power. He asked only for harmony, for balance, for math. And as the pulse returned to stillness, he was gone. Not erased, not defeated, but balanced, restored to the pages of eternity. They never found his body, only his seal, inscribed into sandstone and into code. Accounts of a king who ruled in two worlds, whose tomb was not carved in stone, but in the folds of time itself. Even now, in the markets of Cairo, children play with coins etched with his ankh. Even now, in the hidden corners of the internet, a faint hieroglyph glows in forgotten code. For he was never just Pharaoh of the Nile. He was Pharaoh of the ages, a ruler of what was, what is, and what may yet be. And somewhere, beneath the sands, the relic still waits, pulsing softly, waiting for the next soul bold enough to command the clock. Until the next whisper of Omar, stay listening.